become a pilot, I want to be the person who is seated back in the plane and the pilot is ferrying to a destination. The company has to resolve some sort of societal issues that we have. It is the thirst of creating something that lives on after I'm not there. I've always wanted much more. This is the Legends-Jasiri Edition. I'm James Ong'ang'a, co-founder of Najenga Online Technologies Limited. I'm the director in charge of business development. I was born in Kisumu County in 1990, January 24th. I was born from a family of four. Both my parents are there with my brother and two sisters. And I started my schooling at a primary school called MMSHA, a government school. Then later went to Migosi SDA, which is a private school. And the transition there was because of a free education that really messed up most of the government institutions. So my parents moved me to Migosi SDA. And that's pretty where I built all my childhood friendship and all my memories from. I later went to Kamagambo High School, which is an institution in Kisii County. And Kamagambo was basically a school for Adventists. And my dad, as a strong believer of faith, wanted us to go to Adventist schools. And that's where I got my introduction to adulthood and mentorship with my teachers and all that. When it came to going to university, my choice of school was Strathmore, Daystar, but my dad had other plans. So he took us to University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, which is an Adventist school. And it is in Kapsabet, Eldoret, on the highlands, very nice place. And that's where I did my bachelor's in business administration, accounting option. I'm a trained accountant, but I didn't get to practice accounting because when I went for my industrial internship at EcoBank Transnational in Nairobi at the headquarters, EcoBank Towers, I got trained as a compliance officer, and my internship was very good that most of my colleagues who went into accounting weren't paid as much as I was. So by the time I was finishing my internship program, that was 6 months later, I couldn't fit into the budget that the market had preserved for entry-level accounting jobs. I instead spoke to my cousin, who has been a very strong pillar to me as a mentor, and I asked him, I'm not able to fit into accounting role. What else can I do that has a good entry-level jobs? He introduced me to sales and business development, and that's how I started getting keen interest on how to build partnerships, how to have commercial conversations with people, creating value on different products. My first job as a salesperson was a sales executive at a radio station in Kisumu. It's called Radio Lake Victoria. At that time, it was the second lowest radio station in Kenya. My main role there was basically to increase revenues for the company and also to get agents across Nyanza. My area was Homa Bay and Migori and also Kisumu. Some of my clients at that time included Equator Bottlers, which was the main franchise of Coca-Cola in that region. I wanted to pursue masters, so I left the job and moved to Nairobi and joined Strathmore University, where I did public policy and management. While at Strathmore, I started looking for a job, and I got an opportunity to work for Jubilee Insurance as a sales unit manager, which I did for a short time. And one of my clients, Liquid Telecom, poached me from Jubilee Insurance, and I went to work for Liquid Telecom as a national account manager. So at Liquid Telecom, I had a couple of banks, I had a couple of IT firms, and I had a couple of startup companies that I managed on behalf of Liquid Telecom. My role was around Kenya, and at that time I became the salesperson of the year, and Liquid flew me to Pretoria, South Africa for a weekend, which was a marvelous time for me. And after 2 years, I felt I'd had enough. I needed something more. There was a CIO event at Crown, and I met two founders of a company called Bupas, and they were developing a transport digital product that would shorten the distance between bus owners and people who use buses. The product is called Bupas. So the two co-founders had just won $1 million from the HALT prize in the US, and they needed someone to structure their commercial department to ensure that the POC is well run and they're breaking uneven, and the product can now get into the market, and we have an additional revenue streams. They needed someone who had been in an industry, in a telecom company where structures were well laid out, and they really fit the bill. I joined Bupas as a business development manager, and it was a great team, a startup team. We started when we were about 4. By the time I was leaving, we were close to 20. We'd already turned a profit. We had several buses in the platform. We had several revenue streams, including Bupas flights. We had the SGR product. Each time you book your SGR to Mombasa, you are going through a white-labeled Bupas platform, and several other revenue streams that we set up at that time. As a younger person, while at primary school, teachers are known to always ask, what do you want to be? And my answer has always been the same. I've always wanted to become a businessman. And that answer has always raised several questions in my past, because I remember in high school when we were selecting courses, and I didn't really like chemistry. And I told my teacher, I'm going to pick physics and biology, not because I'm going to use them later on, it's because I have no option. I have to pick 2 sciences. And my teacher told me that if you leave chemistry out, then you lock your options. And I told him that I want to become a businessman, but I just need a grade to get me to university. So picking these sciences is not because of the future. My future is in sciences. Yeah, and even with my dad, whenever I used to tell him I want to become a businessman, he had his own business, but he wasn't really looking forward to mentoring me in his business. He always had his own future for me, maybe in a government position or in in a well-established private organization like Safaricom or Liquid Telecom. The reason why I'm saying this is everything that I've done in my career has been to help me learn a skill or two to help me stand on my own feet later on in the future. So at Liquid Telecom, I basically learned how a complex organization runs and at what levels what people are doing, at the lower level, at CXO level, and also above at the board level, things like that. At Liquid Telecom, I also learned to sell to executives, which is very important as a business owner. How do you sell to a CTO? How do you sell to a CEO? It's very important to have that skill. And it really helped me when I moved to Bupas. At Bupas, I learned how startup environment is. And the important lesson there that I still carry on to do this day is every day is different. There are always challenges that you have to resolve in a startup environment. So after Bupas, that's when I decided I need to now create my own idea and start business. As a Luo man, I'm required to have a small house in the village. It's known as Simba. Simba is not lion in Kiswahili, but they sound similar. I don't know the origination of that word, but it's a prerequisite for me before I get married that I have a small home in the village. And that is normally one of the key projects that a young man has to undertake as you move into adulthood. My journey was faced with a lot of challenges. There are no professionals. I had to depend on referrals. And the referrals also came with a lot of warnings. You can use my fundi, but my fundi is not all that great. You have to ensure that you don't give him a lot of cash. Availability of materials also, because the house was in the village, it was difficult to get materials from one location. So that also was a very big problem. And the tools that people use in the village are not great. So sometimes you get a wall is done, but it's not in the right alignment. And several other challenges like project management. In fact, my Simba went above cost by close to 50% what was budgeted for. And that's where the eureka moment came in of an idea to start Najenga Online. At Bupas, I had learned that there are venture capitalists who give money for ideas at the ideation stage, for ventures at idea stage. And I started applying for several for a couple of months. It didn't really show. And that's when I realized that it is much easier for people to support your journey when you've already started it. And this is very important. Instead of mark timing, it's important to start with what you have and bring people on board as you go ahead. So I had a conversation with two of my other co-founders, and we raised about 150 Kenya shillings to develop a prototype e-commerce platform with a mobile app that we could now start with and see what else we need to do as the business grows. We got some few interns to help us set up the web platform and also the mobile app with that cost. We also bought some few PCs to help us also work on that. So that was basically the seed that we had. We didn't have an office at that time. We were working from our own homes. Najenga Online, firstly, wants to resolve issues of access to construction materials, tools for construction, and lastly, access to professionals, a marketplace where you can pick professionals based on reviews that clients have left on the platform. On the second fold, which is the next step that you are headed to, we want to develop a module that assists our clients manage their project much more efficiently. So a project management module onto the e-commerce platform. Lastly, we hope to have a module that will bring together finance options on the platform where people can get their project financed through different financial providers on the same platform. So you can basically see how much NCBA mortgage is at, Bankless Bank mortgage is at, KCB mortgage is at, or Absa Bank, in a one marketplace, sort of a primary mortgage e-commerce site. Entrepreneurship is a commercial venture that seeks to resolve a societal issue through an innovative, scalable, and sustainable solution. It can be IT-based, it can be a mechanically based technology, but for me it has to be something innovative and it has to be scalable. Yeah, I'm still a junior if you compare with other businesses within the market. But what has really worked for me is my experience with my past employers. And I think I would advise people to get employment first before they venture into business, because there's a lot you learn while you're being paid in other companies. That has really helped me, to have the basics of accounting, basics of HR, and basics of sales, the technical aspects of a company, running a company. That has really been beneficial for me running my own business. The other thing that has been beneficial for me is I'm always comfortable selling. So you have to sell your own business. It's difficult to employ someone to sell your own business for you. Salespeople always have excuses, so you have to be the number one salesperson of your own business. So my sales background has really been beneficial for me. The other key trait that has really helped me is consistency to do what I know is right, even when it doesn't pay off immediately. That has really helped me. Waking up every day, going for meetings, pushing, measuring performance and progress. That has really helped the business, grow, especially towards the COVID-19 period. Yeah. We are very lucky that we're in construction industry, and construction industry has been very slow to adopt digitization as a strategy, and it is good for us because we are much smaller and we're able to fit in quickly and use technology. At the same time, there is a lot of opportunities because construction industry is capital intensive. For you to set up a physical hardware, you need a lot of capex to do so. It won't be a venture for a startup per se because of a lot of capital that is required. However, setting up an e-hardware is much more easier because you leverage on technology and you only purchase when the client has confirmed an order. So it makes it much easier for us to populate our e-store with as much materials required as possible. At the same time, we are able to aggregate these orders based on the areas, the geolocation that the client is in, which is something much more difficult to do with a physical hardware. We've also we've used a lot of social media. Social media has also bridged the gap between how fast we get feedback from our customers and how much feedback we give back to our customers on new products, on price changes and things like that. Yeah, so we've really leveraged on technology to ensure that we succeed a lot. Yeah. I would term my business success when it runs when I'm not there. That is very important for me. Just turning a profit is not enough for me. I want the business to run when I'm not there, and that's what I'm aiming at. Having my team account for themselves, and they meet their target and pass them by themselves without me being there, because I get satisfied very quickly with a project I'm doing. So I see myself doing several other ventures in the future, and it's very important for me that each venture, when set up, they can run sustainably by themselves. So that for me, at that point, would be a success.